And the magic machine tells me that I'm live. I am live with a very provocative title, and I make no apologies for it. If you love WandaVision, it's your impulse to defend it. Let me tell you something. You've probably been the victim of mind control. Okay. And if you are under the age of 40 and you act as though this material is in some way, shape, or form sacred, uh, you know, you're absolutely brainwashed. But that's okay. I love you anyway. We're just talking about silly movies, and silly TV shows, and silly comic books. This is not the mythology or culture of any people or nation state or any ethnicity. These are characters made up by wonderful, lovely people like Jack Kirby and Stan Lee, who are human beings with who never wrote the great American novel, and basically a lot of this stuff is just needs to be put in its proper place. And if I'm overemphasizing my negativity, if I'm overemphasizing my attacks on this stuff, it's because look, I've got we've got people with unchallenged assumptions. People don't even know why they think they like the things that they think, and I really got to tell you that a lot of people are just going on automatic pilot. Their innate sense of a need for culture and society and kinship and potlatch and tribal identity has been co-opted with people with garbage for sale. This is not being a nerd or being a comic book aficionado is not a viable identity. It's not. It's terrible, and it must be stopped. It should be stopped. And we'll get into it. We'll do this in the framework of material that I've already been exploring on my channel. If you're new to my channel, I don't know what to tell you. Dan Dawson was actually first in the live chat on YouTube, followed by Damian Spencer. We also have Lord Doe jumping in on Periscope. Enjoy Periscope while it lasts, because March is the death date of Periscope. We still have not been informed. KB is here. I think KB grabbed the bronze on YouTube. We have Coloctopus going for #1 on Twitch. All right, let me go ahead and go over to YouTube for a second, folks, to tweet out this ye old link. And we'll take it from there. And we will take it from there. Hopefully, God willing, it won't happen. The sending this out onto Twitter will create an explosion of people who don't necessarily know about my channel to come over here and watch. Hopefully, we could debate. Oh, that's not what I want to do. I want to share the video. Do some additional hashtaggery here. Make sure we get all the nerds upset. This is garbage. Marvel. I'll do. Well, comics, yeah, we're gonna do that. There you go. I'm not, and I'll tell you guys right now. We're gonna be examining a piece of media eventually. When I get there. We'll get there. Hold on. Bear with me. This said tweeting sends me to Twitter, which makes me look at my notifications. There you go. Okay. I'm not doing it. I'm liking. Yikes. Okay, let's do this. Bear with me. Bear with me. Bear with me. Okay. Yeah. That's so stupid. So I'm not going to do spoiler alerts. It's let's see. Let's catch up. I think we'll probably have some people, even friends of mine, defending this show, which is absolute. It's everything about it is trash. It's look. It's visual eye candy, and I this these Marvel movies and this Marvel show is just it's trash. It's trash, and I mean, I'm not joking. This is not like an act that I'm putting on. I've watched all 5 of these god awful episodes that have aired. I don't know how many they're gonna do, and it's just retro hell. We've talked about nostalgia loops. We've talked about the 20-year and 30-year nostalgia loop. We've talked about the crazy effects that are happening now that we're getting nostalgic for periods of time that were nostalgic for earlier periods of time, and that creates this nostalgia wormhole, nostalgia on nostalgia abortion, where nothing has any context for time and place. Every media is transformed and turned into an endless amount of just references and signifiers for times gone by, with absolutely no critique of the value of those times, and really, quite frankly, doing oftentimes this piss poor job of it. And there's just mixing metaphors, mixing references, no purity of vision at all, no purity of even context. You have a movie like Wonder Woman 1984, and there was no care taken to make sure that things actually spoke of the actual year in question. But not to mix metaphors, as it were, to talk about that. We'll talk about that movie eventually. Look, on my channel, we took a deep dive onto Ready Player One, which was another example of where I think that we're going as a society. It began with shows like Family Guy. It started innocently enough. I mean, if we go back to the heyday of The Simpsons, look how much of that stuff was just constant referential points to the 70s. That's when it really began. I was reading back in the early 90s. I would read the work of media critics or media analysts like Douglas Rushkoff, and all this stuff seemed playful and innocent, and the referential points that just inundated Animaniacs, and the referential points that inundated The Simpsons and stuff. And it started off innocent enough, but then eventually, it devolves to this point where there's the references are not occurring organically within a new context. It's not, there's no new world full of characters engaged in an activity or an existence that are referencing points in the past. It is people who merely exist, characters and contexts that merely exist for the purpose of providing an opportunity to reinvent or revisit the past. Look at Ready Player One. It's basically just like, how do we create a concept that will allow us to jam in as much proven cultural commodity success stories as we can from the past into this new product that, absent those references, you can't call instances of 80s video game culture or nerd culture in Ready Player One Easter eggs. They're not things that are secret or hidden to be discovered or found. They are the show itself. If you take out all of the references from Ready Player One, either the book, I surmise, I haven't read that, god awful, I'm going to judge it. I've seen enough reviews to know, and I've seen enough end product of Ready Player One, the movie, to know that this is disgusting. If you take out the references, there's nothing left. There's nothing left. And this is similar to Spooky's going to defend WandaVision. You're not going to be able to defend WandaVision because my critiques of WandaVision are so absolutely pristine. There is no, I understand why people like WandaVision. I understand this. And I'm not going to do the spoiler alert thing because there is no need, much like a critique of my critique with Ready Player One. I barely had to engage in any sort of quote unquote spoiler alert warnings because if we were just addressing the instances of retro nostalgia culture referencing. There is no WandaVision for me to spoil. The entire context. I mean, if we talk about the surrounding premise that exists to inject trash into people's brains, retro trash, the 1950s Father Knows Best sitcom, Donna Reed bullshit. That was bullshit culture. Leave It to Beaver was a trash show full of trash messages for fucking consumer morons. And if you were born after 1976, 1980 at the latest, you have no context for even knowing what those shows were. You see things in black and white and you get it. Oh, black and white means from the 1950s. You weren't exposed to that because people grew up by the time they stopped trying to rehash that stuff and were just jamming down 90s bullshit like Fuller House into your brain. Fucking plebeian kids. So the premise that surrounds this whole, the WandaVision exists to recapitulate and put forward images, and it's not satire. It's not parody. It's parodying. They go from, it's over the course of 5 episodes, they've parodied the 1950s sitcom. They parodied the 1960s/70s. It's not even a parody or parodying of anything. It's just, let's have this happen. All of a sudden, what was occurring in the 1950s era is now occurring in color on the Brady Bunch set. It's the fucking Brady Bunch set, and the Brady Bunch was a stupid fucking show. And if you grew up with the Brady Bunch, actually grew up with it, it aired from 1969 to 1970, whatever. If you actually grew up with it, it's one thing to go, oh, wow, the Brady Bunch. But if you were born in 1982, what the fuck do you give a shit about the Brady Bunch? You didn't watch that shit. The only reason that people get nostalgic for this crap is because they actually grew up with it. It's tied to their childhood. Independent of being tied to your childhood, the Transformers cartoons and the GoBot cartoons and the G.I. Joe cartoons are stupid. They're stupid. They're stupid shows for stupid little kids. And when I look at them, I'm like, oh, wow, because it reminds me of my youth. I see kids all the time walking around. I see fucking 20-something, 30-something-year-olds. I've actually caught 30-something-year-olds in the wild or 20-something-year-olds in the wild with G.I. Joe or Cobra tattoos. And I'm like, who the fuck are you lying to? Who the fuck? They told you, they got to tell you that this bullshit from my youth was so amazing and interesting that it was worthwhile for you to ink your body with this shit? The fuck are you doing? It hasn't been long enough for it to be like, oh my God, it's from a bygone different era. It's just stupid stuff. Likewise with the Brady Bunch. Likewise with Father Knows Best and Donna Reed. Those shows were stupid. They were stupid. They were stupid shows. And the only excuse to like those things in retrospect is if you actually grew up with them, if they were part and parcel of your youth, if you can think back and remember sitting on the couch watching it with your brother or with your fucking dad before he left, whatever the fuck. But after the fact, you're probably just, it's a subject of a mental disease. You've been told by the consumer culture to consume this bullshit, and you did it. And a lot of people do it because they've got no fucking cultural identity of themselves. They have no internal self-worth or self-reliance. They have no internal identity. So they glom onto an identity that they can purchase off the shelf to wave around and identify so that other people will say, oh, gee, you're just like me. So many people. I know that there are so many people playing Dungeons & Dragons saying, I love playing Dungeons & Dragons. Who don't love playing Dungeons & Dragons? They're playing Dungeons & Dragons with this fantasy-scape notion that that's somehow going to actually lead to actual social engagement with more than 4 people at once, or probably a girl. Ugh. So the actual premise of WandaVision, if there is one, I don't have to engage in spoiler alerts. There are people trapped in an alternative reality. Okay. And the way that this, that's it. That's the fucking premise. It's just like Lost. Why are they trapped in this alternative reality? Why are they, oh my God, what's going on with this alternative? And no one has any moral or ethical binding whatsoever. There is no fucking show. There are no fucking characters. There are none. And it upsets me because to hear people defend this or instinctually defend it or act like it's a quality show goes to show you how deep the programming I have to fight against is. So stupid. Because what WandaVision does, and let me tell you something, looks beautiful. The actors and actresses are beyond competent. Everyone that is involved in WandaVision is doing their job. God bless them. God has blessed them. But what they end up doing, in effect, is over a series of episodes, portray and present a pantomime of an organic episode of a 1950s style Donald Reed or My Three Sons type show. Like I said, graduating onto some sort of Brady Bunch set. They do the exact same shit, except the people are dressed like it's the 60s, it's the 70s. What is it? What is it? And then all of a sudden, it's the 80s, and all they're doing is being like, imagine if these guys were on Family Ties. From the intro show, from the introduction bit, and it's this weird amalgam. The theme song is from the late 80s, a kind of and the intro is a combination of the mid 1980s. I just mentioned it. Friggin', the hell's that name of the show? Family Ties, complete with the fucking painting of them. But then the theme song that's playing in the background is basically kind of like, what was it, Family Matters with the black guys. The black family, sorry, the African-American family. You know? The characters have no moral or ethical compunction. There is no hero. There is no anti-hero. People are waking up. Here's a spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. If you haven't seen all the episodes of WandaVision, shut your fucking ears. You don't even need to. The entire notion of a spoiler alert is so ridiculous. It's the notion that a media item, okay? Now, I'm not saying that there's not poetry and art and literature and stuff of beauty and wonder in the world that you should experience for yourself. But TV shows, even Game of Thrones season 2, right? It's a fucking show. It's a fucking TV show on HBO. If someone spoils it for you and your fucking life is thrown out of whack because the surprise of the friggin' TV show was ruined for you, get a fucking life. Wake the fuck up to like the nature of reality and how stupid it is to get banged up over a fucking show. But it's my favorite show. Who gives a fuck? Your favorite show should be like your favorite candy. Your favorite food should be something nutritious, and your favorite candy is like a little treat. Like, I really like Nerds. Okay, have at it. You know what I mean? Go whole hog. Next time you get a little box of Nerds. It's different flavors. What I like to do is take the divider out and shake it all up. So it's like a combo. Hey, you do you. But if you drop your box of Nerds, right, and then a fucking dog steps on it or something, and then a car runs over it, go get another fucking, it's a fucking box of Nerds, right? Who gives a damn? So anyway, spoiler alert for those so sensitive that they need to be warned about it. Stupid. This show is so stupid. It's not even funny. It just looks good. It looks good. The actors are competent. It's the show. I'm going to tell you that. Spoiler alert. I'm going to tell you something. If they keep this going for 2 seasons, if they keep it going for 3, here's the end. Here's the end game for fucking a WandaVision. It's going to go fucking nowhere. Nothing is really going to happen. Okay? And I guarantee you, by the time they get to, they're going pretty fast to these fucking, I thought that they would do like the whole season in the 1950s, then a whole season in the 1960s, then a whole season in the 1970s or something. Nope. They're just running through. They're already up to the 80s. Where the fuck are they going to go from now? Because, spoiler alert, by the time you get to the year 2000, if you present an archetypical show from the 2000s, people are going to say, like Friends and Seinfeld. And I'm going to remind you that those aren't archetypical shows of the new millennium, of the 2000s. Those were archetypical shows of the 90s. Friends went off the air in 2005. It went for 10 years. Half of them were in the fucking 90s. Its heyday was in the 90s. Seinfeld ended in 1998. 1998, I think, or 99. I guess they could do The Office or something, like one of these single camera shows. Reference that. That'll get them like what? Another episode? It's not good. So when I say these actors and actresses are competent and they do their job well, and when I say the set designers and costume designers are competent and do their job well, their job is to present you with an exemplar, an homage to a crappy TV show. They pay an homage to a crappy generic style 1950s piece of shit show. Then they do an homage to a sort of 60s, sort of 70s bullshit show. The Brady Bunch sucked. If you know what I mean, the Brady Bunch, it's like if you were a child and grew up with the Brady Bunch, or even the reruns. And this is part of where we'll go. Let me jump the story ahead. Let me jump my analysis ahead a bit. They tell us in the TV show WandaVision that Wanda Maximoff was born in like Slovenia or whatever in 1989. Okay? It makes no sense for her to be fantasizing or for her to exist organically in a world. Vision is a machine god created apparently sometime in the year 2018 or 17 or whatever, when they had to fight Ultron, whatever the fuck year that was. So Vision has no, first of all, he's not even a human. Number two, what about that would be amazing about him being an artificial intelligent human would involve him being able to look at a 1950s sitcom world and say, this makes sense. This is totally organic, the way people are acting and interacting, and I can totally organically interact with it. The whole show's fucking stupid. Anyway, if this chick is born in 1989 in Estonia, what the fuck does she know about a Donna Reed style Father Knows Best show? What love does she have for that era of television? How about the Brady Bunch era? Or how about Family Ties? If she was born in 1989, Family Ties had been off the air, was not even playing in reruns anywhere. Because Family Ties is like, it's a relic. Why the fuck would she be giving a fuck about trying to organically being in that world? And that's what I mean. There's no fucking organic premise. There's no reason for any of these people to be existing in this alternative reality. I'm trying not to spoil it. I don't give a fuck. I'll spoil it. Fuck it. Wanda, you ready? I'll count down from 10. And if you come late, then, honestly, again, we already said the thing about the spoiler alerts being stupid. Spoiler alert in 10. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. Fuck you. Wanda Maximoff is a fucking witch, and, her robot husband died, whatever, and then for some reason she took a town in New Jersey and made it into old TV shows. That's basically the fucking movie, the show, and that's a stupid show. It's a stupid show. And it's just oh my God, look how they present it's just like watching one of those old 1950 shows. Except those old 1950 shows, there's no reason to replicate those old shows. They weren't good enough. No one's pining for the days of when they're going to bring back My Three Sons. No one talks about rebooting My Three Sons. You know why? Because who the fuck cares? A fuck. My Three Sons and Donna Reed and Father Knows Best were from a time and era where media was so knew that literally they're a family was a fucking premise for a show. What's the fucking premise of fucking My Three Sons? It's a dude, he's got three sons, and his uncle lives with them? It's like, where's the mom? Whoa, show. You know? And friggin' Leave It to Beaver, he's a mischievous kid. Gets in all sorts of trouble. Leave It to Beaver, and his family's there. And there's Eddie Haskell. Okay, I guess so. You know what I mean? And that's where we are. And that's where we are. And so WandaVision makes no fucking sense, because why is this chick with magical powers who was born in 1989, why isn't a natural emanation of her magical powers to create an alternative reality? She's fucking creating the alternative reality. That's a fucking spoiler. Why the fuck would she be creating this 1950s world? I'll tell you why. Because media and the cultural media milieu of 1989 forward is such fucking garbage that they know they couldn't present it. But if they want to be organic, what would she go through? Cosby Show, Full House, right? People see or exposed to things that are from 10 years before and later, because that shit's in syndication, because people wanted. Did I grow up watching Three's Company on TV? Because Three's Company is so fucking awesome, and the people demanded that Three's Company be on? No. They made enough years of Three's Company in the late 70s that by the time I showed up and opened my eyes to be put in front of the electronic babysitter known as television as a latchkey kid or whatever, that was on, because they had to show something. And 10 years before, I grew up in the 1980s where they were showing all sorts of shit from the 70s on the TV show, because that was the shit that was cheap to put on. Not because people really wanted it, not because it was the most amazing shit ever, because it was just the shit that was 10 years older, so that it was cheap to put on. So they put it on, so I was exposed to it too. Wanda Maximoff would have never been exposed. I was exposed to Donna Reed and all that shit because the birth of basic cable television, Nick at Night. And still, why was that stuff on? 20-year nostalgia loop. Nick at Night went on the air. Hold on, I'll tell you right now. I'm right, and everyone, if you disagree with me, that's fine. You know what I mean? We'll fight. It's fine. Nick at Night. There's Wikipedia. There's a Wikipedia. Here's the other thing I'm going to get to, is that people are taught and told to like these fucking shows, or told that these shows are amazing, and they're not. A lot of the shit that people are just picking up on is just not any good. It was never any good. They were just told. Nick at Night is an American. Where the fuck? Come on. Just someone to fucking started. Oh, here we go. Launched July 1st, 1985, 35 years ago. Suck my dick. 1985. You know what I mean? And what did it show in 1985? 75, 65, 55. Shit from 30 years earlier. Because of the nostalgia loop, because there was someone out there who wanted to see that shit. They couldn't show Nickelodeon was a kids network, and I guess the premise was that we should honor the illusion that kids are going to bed. And then all of a sudden, we don't want to lose those ad dollars, so let's just keep on running shows for adults. And just like I'll watch something when I first had kids, I would watch, shit, because you're not going anywhere. You got kids now, so you might as well watch the stuff that you reminisced of from your kid. So if you rewind 35 years ago, these people are like, I guess they grew up on some of this garbage. Anyway, it is what it is. So I want to make sure I got to everything. So that's my critique of WandaVision. It's just an excuse to show and recapitulate. I mean, when they do the 80s show, I mean, it's like it's not like they're doing it's not like they're doing, the Bob Newhart show. They're not doing a mid-season vision of the Golden Girls or an early era of Roseanne. They're doing hold on, wait a minute. Oh my, what? A dog? Oh my word. Oh my medication. They're doing an imagery. They're recapitulating literally crap media. But don't you get it, CW? It's a reference because they're trapped in this existential hellscape of no, I don't get it. No, I don't get it. Because there's no reason for these characters to pick that vision of a hellish Bardo. And I don't believe it. I think that's pretense. I think that people don't want to admit that everyone is out of ideas because in our hyper-mediated world where everyone is exposed to this nonsense, just because you put shit on the skeleton of the hero's journey mythos or cycle doesn't make all of a sudden that crap turn into like high art. It doesn't. It just provides a reason to exploit the draw or the appeal of the hero's journey, to use that mythical cycle when George Lucas recasts the Buddha as Yoda. That doesn't improve people's clarity of vision when it comes to understanding the Dhamma. It doesn't. It confuses it because Yoda eventually, like everything that came from George Lucas's feeble human brain, God bless him, God has blessed him, he's done more creatively, published more works than I ever will. God bless him. But the tales of the Buddha, the tales of the Christ, the tales of Krishna, mythology, organic, true mythology, lasted and stood the test of time and was shaped by time. And here's the word again, organically. And this other stuff is just created by people working in the realm of genre fiction. And people confuse the flashing lights of the computer CGI and the flashing lights of Robert Downey Jr.'s amazing acting. They confuse that with there being something going on in Iron Man or something going on in WandaVision. There is nothing going on there. And these classic comic tropes in history, I oftentimes would go back and I'd say, oh man, I can't wait. What I'm going to do is I'm going to read the first, 2-3 years of X Factor that I collected or whatever. And I reread them. And a lot of it, I'm like, oh man, this is like, oh man, oh shit. G.I. Joe is streaming on fucking Hulu. Oh man, let's do this shit. Boom, let's go. Why am I watching a kid show? You know what I mean? What am I doing here? This isn't actually that good. Oh wow, not only is it not good from an artistic and narrative perspective, but actually the messaging and what's going on is kind of sick. But that's it, and it doesn't matter. So anyway, it really doesn't matter. None of this matters. It really doesn't matter. It's dancing about architecture. It really doesn't matter. Anywho, the origin of post-rock. I got a couple of things on my brain that I'm going to just shoot through. The origins of post-rock. It came up with in an earlier broadcast, and I was naming some things, and there was a couple of bands that I realized that I forgot. and one of the main ones was Durruti Column. There was a band called Durruti Column, primarily an instrumental band of very sparse instrumentation, of very sparse playing style. And they released their first records in 1980 and 1981. So 20-year nostalgia loop brings us to 2000, 2001. And if we talk about post-rock kind of beginning in the late 90s, the mid to late 90s, a lot of this stuff, and also a lot of this stuff is, we got to be completely honest, there's a lot of stuff that Tortoise have done that was, and then also talking about the influence of post-rock was minimalist composers like Philip Glass and Steve Reich. And they made their critical breakthroughs in the mid to late 70s was when that stuff really started taking off, and even earlier for some people. So even from the technology, the uses of the studio trickery as instrumentation, like the studio as an instrument, a lot of that stuff just goes back to clear antecedents, happening. So like basically, even in the late 90s, mid to late 90s, no one was really coming up with anything new. And even if you talk about drum and bass, I mean, really drum and bass can be thought of as just a recapitulation of the invention of hip hop and house. Anyway, I don't want to piss everybody off. And that's not saying that there can't be good stuff done. For example, as I said about WandaVision, these are the set design, the camera work, the special effects, the acting, all very well and good. And to the degree that these people were doing something terrible. Look, the guys that invented the nuclear bomb, right? They did it. Good for them, right? They regretted it. A lot of them regretted it after the fact. And after all, what they did with their amazing scientific knowledge was create the ultimate killing machine. Thank you, Oppenheimer. But so you could do something well and still be doing something bad. WandaVision is bad because all the time, energy, and effort that first of all the time, energy, and effort that went into making WandaVision could be put into the distribution of food for the home, food for the homeless. I'm not being an asshole, but that's true. Remember that these people are spending millions of dollars to basically masturbate you. I mean, in what way does this stuff improve your life? In a lot of ways. You have to ask that question. I think you should ask that question. But beyond that, the time, energy, and effort, you're going to say the creation of media and art and theatrical art and television art is a good unto itself. Okay, they could have recreated, they could have done something new. Could they have? Question mark. And why didn't they? And why is it in 2021 that CW Chanter feels obsessed with coming onto YouTube and telling people over and over again, have you noticed how there's nothing new? Have you noticed that everything you're being sold, everything that's available, even from the experimental art house set, is eerily reminiscent of something that has happened before? And need we ask the question, which I think we do, is it possible that we've entered into an era of human culture and history where we have literally done everything and there's nothing new to do? Pornography. There is but a finite number of holes on the human body. And there is but a finite number of roles that people can be cast in as an excuse to present the exploitation of said holes. Heavy metal music, good old-fashioned rock and roll, hip-hop, rapping. What is the bold new venture that people are going to go into? What is the new idea? And if we can look back in time and say that there were periods of time where people were producing new legitimate pieces of art that can be distinguished from that which came before, then how come we don't see a continuation of that process into the future? With the ability and technology freely available in the form of computers and its associated software so readily available to the kids, Why is it that the latest music phenomenon that I'm aware of, vaporwave and its antecedents and subgenres, are literally a music form dedicated to nostalgia? I like ambient dronescapes. I would never buy another ambient dronescape CD. Why? Because ambient dronescapes, by definition, and through its use, its availability, is literally coming out of everybody's ears. And where's the new paradigms? And I am not kidding. There's never been a pushback from the live chat saying, CW, you asked us for examples of new things, and we came up with examples of new things, and you poo-pooed them and you didn't engage. No, I've told people why the simple, beautiful cultural artifacts that they've brought into me are exactly emblematic of things and things that have happened before. And it's baffling. And what it really especially means is this. I'm going to tell you this, and then I'm going to go to the live chat, and you guys will just respond to the live chat, because at this point I've been going on for 41 minutes, so there's 41 minutes of live chat conversation, so I'll be far behind, and I'll never catch up with it, but it will end somewhere. And you can't be upset with me if I'm dissing your favorite friggin' show, because it's, first of all, if this is your favorite show, you're on drugs, and you should be this is, it's TV. We're allowed to talk about science fiction TV, and we're allowed to be disrespectful to it. Anyway, I feel like there was another thing I was going to say. Anywho, hold on, bear with me. My apologies. Okay, so we'll just leave it there, and I'll just go and respond to the live chat, because maybe you guys will say something to me. And again, this is not me saying that there's not songs worth humming that are made, or shows worth seeing. It's just the notion and idea of let's not bullshit each other. Let's not bullshit ourselves, and let's certainly not stop. Let's stop calling people that are not creating anything new like artistic geniuses. It's been homage since it started in the 80s. The rot started in the 80s, and by the 90s, it was in full effect. The 90s was just a retrograde rehash of the 1970s. Every single cultural move of the 1990s was nothing more than a flashback to 20 to 30 years earlier. It was in music, grunge. Listen to it. It's just old school acid fuzz butt rock. It is. It just is what it is. You know what I mean? It's just the fucking Eagles. You know what I mean? With a little bit more distortion, or various instances or cross commodifications of punk rock or whatever. And then the cultural revolution of the film work of Quentin Tarantino or fucking whatever. Pfft, no, it's just like Scorsese. Yeah, violence. Okay, cursing. Oh wow. Fascinating. You know what I mean? Ridiculous. Anyway, let me do this. So I'm going to start the start of the live chat, and I'll go down, and I'll try to only engage in, not because I'm like pissed off at anybody, but I'll just try to engage only with those things which are material to the conversation actually being had. There you go. Spooky says WandaVision is good. I disagree with Spooky. Let's see if Spooky can tell us why WandaVision is good. Then she says that she wins. So that's the point. People will say that it's good but they won't. Here's Pragmagic. It's okay so far. It is absolutely okay. Why do we settle for okay? I see Damian Spencer's comments. I would comment on it, but unfortunately, there's no. Oh no, there you go. Thank God. I thought no one had engaged in the live chat. Here we go. Spooky, Ben is wrong and hasn't paid attention. No, I've absolutely paid attention, Spooky. I've actually been paying attention. And the multiverse, the concept of the concept. Here's some concepts that if you use, you're a trash writer and you're a bullshit science fiction fan playing out the role of a new science fiction creator. Okay, timelines and multiverses. These are just excuses. They're just absolutely excuses to be able to do anything you want and to have all the references in the world, right? If something happens on the cartoon that you can't explain, a wizard did it. It's hokey and it's cliche at this point, and it's lazy writing because the multiverse theory speaks of other possible universes, but it never speaks of the fact that the universe that you're experiencing as a consciousness is not a multiverse universe. You're experiencing one universe. And it's not, I don't think it's even organic to say that multiverses take whatever. We'll get there. Oh, and then also this is that the notion that this is that the explanation makes sense because it's a character. Do you know what I mean? Because it's a particular character doing something. That's not me not getting it. Okay, that's me telling you that all of these characters, to have any sort of primary identity. You want to do spoiler alert? We'll do spoiler alert. At one point, Vision coming to accept and understand that this alternative reality is being created by Wanda, who never denies this fact, frees a human being that is trapped in this simulated universe and is awoken by Vision to tell Vision that he's experiencing a hellacious existential nightmare. Vision, a quote unquote hero, puts him back into that hellscape. That's not the actions of an anti-hero. An anti-hero still ends up doing things heroically, though they may do them ugly. If a person just puts someone back into an existential hellscape because they can't confront the fucking woman that they love or whatever, that's fucking not being an anti-hero. That's just being a shitty person. So who are we rooting for here? And also, there's not, dear comic book movie makers, what is up with people when they float in the air having one knee up like this shit? Hold on. At one point, people rise. First of all, why do people always who can fly always rise up in the air when they're really angry? It's like, ooh, now I'm really pissed. And then they do this fucking stupid move. Let me get. What's this bullshit? Can you see this? What's this shit? I raise my one knee. Ooh, I'm floating. Oh, you can tell I'm floating. Why don't you just float standing up? But oh, my fucking knees up. Whoa, that's a stupid movement. When Vision does it at the end of the last episode, it looks retarded. Deal with it. And if you're getting involved in comic book nuance or possible explanations based on the comic book history, understand that the Marvel Cinematic Universe is absolutely not tied and not respectful of the quote unquote canon of the comic books. So there's no way to predicate or predict other than to make a dumb, lousy guess that they stole this character, so they might bring this character back. Mm. Spooky. No, I think it's a setup for Doctor Strange too. But that's the thing about comic books in and of itself. And we've talked about this. We have talked about real pieces of art allow themselves to exist at periods and for periods of time and then successfully tell a story and then end, right? Even if it's a trilogy, right? Even if it goes on for 3 movies, even if it goes on for 7. The arc has a beginning, a middle, and an end. Comic books, soap operas, and professional wrestling don't do that. They ape narrative arcs, but the narrative arcs keep on spinning. So every once in a while, this is another thing that I want to get on retro on retro. Retro culture has been going on so long that I realized I go through my t-shirts sometimes and I'm like, oh wow, I remember this. This is like a retro style t-shirt. And then I think to myself, I said, this is a retro t-shirt that I obtained in 2000 when I was reminiscing about the 80s. And if you look at a lot of retro culture YouTube channels, like TV channels that are dedicated to retro gaming, look at when they started, because a lot of them started over 10 years ago. So there's going to be a point in time where people are retro over their retro nostalgia. I think back to the days of watching the first couple of episodes of, Pat the NES Punk or Cinemassacre. I remember when the Angry Video Game Nerd was like this like low budget piece of crap show. Oh man, I'm going to watch some of those classic episodes. Gain retro for retro. That's crazy town. That's when the world blows up. That's when the world it ceases to exist. And you'll never be able to point things out. And that's what I mean. Let a show be a show. If everything has to be connected to this larger Marvel Cinematic Universe, it's just an excuse to beat the audience off forever. There's no conclusion. There's no narrative arc. And that's what makes a TV show or a movie into literature. And the absence of that literature is what makes it into just a fad or media product. And be very aware. If you're into retro things that weren't actually there for your youth, watch out. You've been fucking hoodwinked. You've been fucking bamboozled. You have been. Multiverse time. Rogue status. Why? CW is really fired up over this, huh? No, I don't think so. Dan Dalton says Nick at Night was my exposure, but Brady Bunch was on TBS. Dan Dalton, when I watch your opinion, I'll beat it out of you. My God. Leave it to the philosophy professor to be like, actually, Brady Bunch was on TBS. As if Brady Bunch was never on Nick at Night. Was it not on Nick at Night? Who cares? It was still bullshit. Or how about this? The Monkees. Remember? Everyone's into the Monkees. Why? Because MTV was like, we'll show you the episodes, we'll show you the Monkees. Like it was a fantastic show. There you go. Rogue status is how do you know what she watched in third world Slovenia or whatever? Well, number one, Rogue status. I don't have to know what she watched because she's a fictional character. She literally watched nothing. But here's the issue. Here's the issue. Here's one of the issues. and this goes to the comic book, the notion that these things, that we can predict what's going to happen in the Marvel Cinematic Universe based on what happened in the comic books. And also, I just want to tell you that the comic books make no sense. So every once in a while, I decide that I'm going to get back into comic book culture, and I'm just going to figure out what's going on. So there's a couple of different YouTube channels that I subscribe to and I watch, and you literally, there are so many times where I'm watching them where I realize, like, the notion that this timeline makes any sense. Like, you know how many Incredible Hulks there have been? It's Old Man Hulk, the Ultimate Hulk, Wizard of Wario Hulk, Ultimate Stormbringer Death Cloud Thor, Ultimate Stormbringer Death Cloud Thor, but this time he's a black dude. The fifth Black Panther. Today we're going to be exploring a very important story arc from 2017 where the Black Panther, the Black Panther comes back from the dead. But we're not even talking about zombie Black Panther. But what if I told you that Black Panther for a run in 2017 was actually Professor X? And it's that kind of shit. You can't follow any sort of narrative here. You can't have canon. Too many things have happened since 1950, whatever. You know what I mean? It's ridiculous. But Rogue Status says, how do you know what you watched? I can conjecture. And here's the thing. If you show, listen, here's the thing, Rogue Status. The 20 or 30 year nostalgia loop, 20 or 30 year nostalgia loop is a real thing insofar as this. You can expose people to stuff within their given nostalgia loop from, their classic era of being a new media consumer, and it'll work. And if you play something too old for them, they won't give a shit. Rogue, have you ever watched The Scarlet Pimpernel? The Scarlet Pimpernel. The Scarlet Pimpernel was a hit movie. I think it was actually a series of movies. The Scarlet Pimpernel. It's from like the 1930s. Rogue Status, you couldn't sit through an episode, a movie, an installment of The Scarlet Pimpernel if I gave you the best ecstasy and LSD known to man. You couldn't watch, you'd close your eyes and watch the Mind movies before you would expose yourself willingly to The Scarlet Pimpernel. It's so old, the black and white, it's not even black and white. It's just, whoa. You know what I mean? I got kids. Let me tell you something. If you play, there are times where I'm like, oh man, you know what these kids would love? I see them watch this bullshit show. I see them watch this bullshit show. Let's expose them to Land of the Lost. Nope. Not happening. Not happening. They from beat one, that doesn't look like they're really on the river. What is this? It's like I'm trying to make them watch home movies of their grandparents. You know how every family has those, like, somewhere in their den is a 5-hour videotape of Grandma Estelle's 82nd birthday. And they made it, and they're like, oh, wow, we can't wait. And they'll watch it every once in a while for 5 minutes, right? And they'll be like, there she is, there's Grandma Estelle. Turn it off. Let's go back to drinking. I say hello to all the people that are here. Spooky. Apparently it was common in that place and time to watch old U.S. shows. Was it? And what was the definition of an old U.S. show? Were they watching Fathers Know Best in the Donna Reed show? I don't think that they were. Do you have a... I'm not going to... Is Slovenia really... I don't know where the fuck they're actually from. It's period accurate. Now you're just saying shit, and then you're going to say shit and upset me, and then you're going to say I'm easy to annoy. And who gives a fuck if it's Mephisto? What's his fucking excuse? Pragmatic. Yeah, but who cares of the logic in knowing the tropes when the writers and producers are double her age? Logic be damned. It's escapism. Exactly. Like Ready Player One. Let's just recapitulate our youth and act as though the empty recapitulation of tropes and statements and items from our youth indicates that we are creating something of the same sort of value of these things of our youth. The first 3 Star Wars movies were great. Ewoks be damned. But referencing them endlessly does not make your work George Lucas. It just makes your work a hand ski for all the other Star Wars fanboys and fangirls out there. Get it? Is it a mystery? So here's what I'm going to say. So Spooky says it's a weekly mystery. Is it? Because here's what I'm going to say. Absent the work and dialogue, imagery, and statements that are designed to present the media retro culture du jour and or to explain why that retro media du jour is occurring, absent that, there's no mystery. If the mystery can be expressed in one sentence, who's doing this? Is it Wanda or somebody else? If it can be expressed that succinctly, it's not a mystery. Damian Spencer, we didn't have a color TV until I was 9. But you're 92 years old. You should, if you got access to Disney Plus, watch the show. Come back and tell me that I'm wrong. Tell me that it's amazing. Tell me that you think it's so great. Tell me that you think that I'm concentrating on the wrong things. Tell me that where I'm wrong, and we'll start the conversation there. I have no problem. Believe you me, I have no problem with the conversation because the conversation is easier. It's easier to have a conversation than it is to just do these 45-minute monologues of hate. And I apologize for the dead air as I look through the live chat. Spooky, watch the first 3 episodes as one arc, then 4 and 5. It's unconventional storytelling. No, it's not. It's not unconventional storytelling. It's not unconventional storytelling in the slightest. They're not telling a story. Like I said, with that example of that horrendously immoral act that Vision does, or when he confronts Wanda with it and tells her what people are experiencing, and she doesn't immediately turn, or the fact that they react to these kids growing up before their eyes like it's no big deal. That's not unconventional storytelling. That's just taking too long on the exposition of these people are trapped in an existential artificial hell. Who's causing it? But the dirty little secret about this unconventional storytelling bullshit canard, it's the same thing with Lost, and it makes sense. When was Lost a hit TV show? Here we are in 2021. The 20-year nostalgia loop brings us back to 2001, when there was nothing but garbage and bullshit on TV and occasional crime dramas that reminded people of mobster movies. The Sopranos. Oh my God, it's this amazing show, The Sopranos. Yeah, because it's a Martin Scorsese gangster film, but it's episodic and it never ends. With good actors and good actresses, good set design, and nudity. Hey, listen, There's no way to say that WandaVision is unconventional storytelling because it's not telling a story. Having 15 minutes of how long are these fucking episodes? It's like hour episodes. Having three-fourths of a movie of a show be a presentation of a fucking knockoff 90s retro trope. That's bullshit. Look, we're wearing bell bottoms on the Brady Bunch set. Holy, that's not unconventional storytelling. That's just, look, now it's the 60s. Whoa, my God. And I listen to these pro WandaVision comic book douchebags. I told you already that I'm subscribed to a whole bunch of these comic book douchebags. They don't even know why they like what they like. Oh my God. Oh my God. Revelations on Wanda. They're excited about having something to be excited about because there's nothing really going on in their life to be excited about. One instance of ball cancer will cure a dude of ever being like, oh my God, the latest episode of WandaVision, strap yourselves in. We thought it might be Mephisto, and now we're really starting to get inklings. If you look at the third frame, the design of the drone, you really have to ask yourself, who sent that in there? And who's Rambo really working for? One near-death experience will stop you from ever needing to do that again. It won't stop you from watching bad TVs and movies, but it'll certainly stop you from being like, oh, fucking A. Have fun. Sup, guys, since Disney is opening the door to the multiverse. Yes. And let me tell you what's behind door number. Fuck you. Fuck everyone in the ass. Multiverse is an excuse to endlessly create nonsense media content full of characters that people have been instructed that they should like, want to see, and enjoy. Don't you for a minute forget that Disney owns Marvel, they own Star Wars, and they own the original Disney IPs. What's this multiverse going to end up going into? Hold on to your... If I'm lying, I'm dying. Within the next 5 years, you're going to see a goofy Marvel Cinematic Universe fucking crossover. You can fucking bet on it. You can fucking bet on it. And by the way, if you want to know what else is going on behind the scenes, you know what other people are working on? They're working on the Hasbro Cinematic Universe. Hasbro Cinematic Universe, yeah. G.I. Joe, He-Man, fucking Battle of the Planets, whatever. All this shit that they got, Transformers, they're going to turn that shit into a fucking, let's see if we can get people to go on a thrill ride for it. And the movies are going to fucking suck. These are barely movies. The plots make no sense. The characters' motivations are skewed and garbled. It's crap. Pragmatic. Marvel is both buoyed and chained by their continuity. Sacrifices will and have been made, i.e., major plot holes. But you know what? The things that a lot of people even notice are not like actually all the lack of continuity that exists. Because these comic books have been going on since the X-Men have been going on since before the fucking Beatles. Do you know that? Since before the fucking Beatles. These characters have had so many ups and downs, in and outs, rebirths, reboots, and the kind of cultural entropy that I'm talking about with problems with the Marvel Cinematic Universe happen within the Marvel comic book universe. And then the Marvel Cinematic Universe takes liberties and does things. And then do you know what happens in the Marvel comic universe? They have comic books that are specifically dedicated to the depiction of the Marvel universe that's shown in the movies. They have comic books that tie into the movies, and that's why if you go to the Marvel comic book universe, go to the Marvel fan wiki. It's impossible to understand. It's more complicated than fucking Sharia law. It really is, and it's for the exact same reasons. It's been going on so long. There are interpretations upon interpretations, reboots, reinvestigations, things that failed, things that were just forgotten about. There are plot holes and continuity problems within the within the Marvel comic book universe. Why do you think they have so many fucking universes? This is universe 739658 that took place. Oh, the Cabal was the original son of Jean Grey and Scott Summers, but only in multi-universe number 73558 and multi-universe 6927344. In the Marvel universe, 39785692, where Old Man Logan lives, Cable was never even born. Oh, what? You know what I mean? Jenny Quick says, I'm so lost in this topic, hanging on anyway with hopes that the subject will eventually make sense. If I talk about things that don't make sense, it doesn't make sense. Pragmatic, the multiverse has been around for decades in comics. This isn't revolutionary storytelling, it's high-level adaptation. The multiverse was a canard and a fucking an excuse back in the day. You know what happened? The same thing has been happening. They didn't do it just in the Marvel universe. They also did it in the DC universe. Crisis on Infinite Earths, where all these different things, because they keep on rebooting these characters. They keep on being like, the kids are sick and tired. We want to bring back Flash, but like in a 1960s groovy style. Okay, well, we're gonna have the son of the original Flash die in a terrible accident, but he leaves his magic shoes to this dude, Sporty McKenzie, or whatever. And then we want to have some sort of. Then some guy comes on and goes, I'm sick and tired of all the bullshit that people are doing in comic books in the 80s. I'm a rough, gruff guy. I'm Frank Miller, and I'm blah, blah, blah. And my Batman is going to be dark. So dark, it's not even going to be funny. People are going to be, you'll look at Batman and see what he does and be like, oh my God, I can't believe he fisted that nun for fun. What a jerk. That's my kind of Batman. Yeah, that's a great Batman. Why don't you sell that to kids? That's great. You're fucking awesome. And you're going to be conservative. Then somehow your weird, bizarre, Stone Age mentality, regressive, America First attitude is some sort of fucking great thing that we should lionize. Fucking asshole. Fuck Frank Miller. And then you get Grant Morrison and you revert, or Alan Moore, be like, oh, wow. It's like, what would happen if a comic book guy was interested in writing comic books somewhere in the 1970s, did a whole bunch of acid and realized that everything's kind of like connected, man. Connected, man. Rooster Sideburb says, I'm a simpleton. I don't need a good show. Just give me explosions and action. And baby, don't you worry. Rooster Sideburbs, modern media has you covered. You are set, baby. But here's the freaky thing. Now I'm going to tell you something that's freaky. So I study past decades and past eras, and I can tell you something. Here's what's really scary. So I was doing the 20-year nostalgia loop research. So what I would do is consistently is I'd wake up, I'd do my religious meditations, I'd do my studies, my prayers, my invocation, my journaling work, right? My tarot consultations, my I Ching divinations. And then I would say, okay, what was going on February 8th, 1991? 30 years ago. What was going on February 8th, 1991, or December 12th, 1999, right? And you go back, and if you go to YouTube, it's very little. There's like different examples. There's little home movies, newscasts that were poorly recorded on VHS that were uploaded to YouTube. Very sporadic little pieces of stuff, but you can get a feel for it. You can see things. Or here's a media presentation. Here's a public speech by Ronald Reagan in 1980. Oh, wow. Look at that. Here's the State of the Union address from 1992. Fascinating. When you get past 2008, if you enter in, this is an experiment you can do at home. Enter in February 8th, 2011 or 2008, 2011, 2010. Pick something around there and then see. It's when the vlogs start, and it's when people start uploading everything under the sun. Their home movies, they go to a Sarah Silverman, show on New Year's Eve, and they record it on their freaking camera, drunk, and it's all like, 5 seconds of share, whatever. It's all, you can't get to anything because it's just so much. And here's what I'm telling you. The other thing that's crazy. If you go to February 8th, 2011, if I'm lying, I'm dying. Much of the YouTube content from 10 years ago is indistinguishable from the YouTube content today. Sure, there's some people who are using crappier webcams, but they're starting to die off. Standard high definition output on YouTube is way older than 10 years. So it's going to be no period of time at all. No ability to distinguish or look at something and say whether or not it was the product of the 80s or the 70s or the 50s. It's all going to be just this post-time loop melange. What a wonderful, strange, bizarre world of flashing lights and stimuli signifying nothing. And people are saying things. Some of the things that people are saying that are valuable in the live chat, I'm not engaging with, not because I don't think it's valuable, or not because I don't think it's a valid opinion, or not because I don't think it's interesting information, but because it's not necessarily organic to the plot here to the degree that there is any sort of plot. And we don't want to go to a total rabbit hole because I've been here for an hour and 60 minutes and we don't want to be going on too long. Jenny Quegg again. I don't even know if the subject is about anything Star Trek-y. Marvel, however, is kindergarten level. I love good sci-fi, though. There you go. WandaVision is not Dune. WandaVision is not the Hyperion cycle. WandaVision is not A Wrinkle in Time. WandaVision is not Naked Lunch. And none of the Marvel movies are at all. They're not. Dude, what you forget Manly Paul Hall ever existed? Oh my god. Sup guy says there is an important of time in WandaVision. If you can get tell me what's going on there. A movie can be awesome. A movie can be entertaining. And in that way, in shape and form, be somewhat considered good. But that doesn't make it high art or like excellent. Jenny Quick says, I'm waiting for the good metaphysical content CW always delivers so elegantly. Oh my God, don't put any pressure on me. I think we're too far gone to go back now. We'll get there. Remember, if I'm making daily content for an hour and a half to 2 hours a night, there's going to be a lot of dross. There's going to be a lot of working it out. There's going to be a lot of, chopping wood and carrying water. And a lot of it's like being engaged in scientific experimentation. If you run a lot of scientific experiments, you see the people come out of the lab when they've achieved a goal, when something has actually happened. But what you don't realize is that Thomas Edison may have invented X number of inventions, but he failed at so many more. Do you know what I mean? It's just in retrospect that it all looks amazing. Oh, by the way, here's another thing that we need to be aware of. Elon Musk may have called his company Tesla, but he's not Tesla, not by a long shot. And there are so many crappy things that Elon Musk has been involved in. The notion that he's any sort of genius is ridiculous. And yeah, we'll leave discussions of Elon Musk and Bitcoin for another day, but we'll get there. Oh, absolutely. Pride Magic says Sonic Youth 80s no wave before post rock. Yeah, a lot of these things you have to realize that these like things like evolve like over time, and there's a nexus of connection. So if you look at bands like Gaster del Sol or Tortoise that that kind of came into fruition like at the time of post rock. Remember those guys? A lot of those guys were connected to bands like Slint. So a lot of this stuff is just like stuff that gets burnt out over time, or different things that like move forward, or different like exemplars of set and setting that people gave birth to on certain records, like U.S. Maple or whatever. That people then eventually say, well, like, what if we just did that, right? And also the other excuse is like the other thing you need to realize is eventually it's like people just replicate sounds of the old until the audience changes. So for example, the beginning of the first, what was it? Millions Now Living Will Never Die, like the first big like I know there was like I think there was a Tortoise record before Millions Living Will Never Die. It's that song, what is it called? Like DJ'd, or is it called Glassed or whatever? But it's basically like it's a minimalist composition. And if it doesn't, no one I think who had been exposed to the guitar work like Electrical Counterpoint by Steve Reich would have thought like, oh my God, that's like revolutionary. They might have thought it was beautiful and amazing, but they would have known that it had historical antecedents. But when a lot of the kids were coming along that were hearing that stuff for the first time, weren't educated as to the work of Steve Reich or Philip Glass or like Phase Studies or Alvin Lucier or whatever. So a lot of people heard that stuff and were like, oh my God. A lot of people, like I know for a fact, there were a lot of kids that got exposed to Wolf Eyes through Sub Pop who thought that those guys like invented noise. You know what I mean? Like, God bless the kids. Oh my God. Excuse the dead air as I look at the live chat. Spooky says, I might have to make a response video to this. Do so. I encourage you to do so. Do so. I encourage you to do so. Please. And then the conversation can go forward. Or let's find a monetized channel where we can have a debate and donate all of the proceeds to Wounded Warrior Project. Pragmagic, there are already tons and tons of YouTube videos singing the praise of WandaVision. Yeah, it's all fan service. It's people replicating. It's people design. Here's talk about nostalgia loops. 2011 was when Game of Thrones first season aired. Okay. Now that things are getting all fucked up with the nostalgia loop, people are going back and getting nostalgic for all sorts of weird things. People are nostalgic or if you go back to Lost, people are nostalgic for the early days of internet culture. So a new show comes out and people automatically start saying how hype it is, how amazing it is, how great it is. And it's like the Emperor has no clothes. There were people prior to the release of Cyberpunk 2077 that turned out to be dead on arrival. There were people talking about and hyped up to it to the degree that as it first came out, there were people that just kept on with the praise, even though it was demonstrably broken. They were still saying it's fine or it's great or it's amazing because they had built it up and their channel got it to 2,000 to 5,000 to 7,000 subscribers, saying X, Y, and Z. Like me and Spooky have a YouTube channel that we watch in common called The Matrix Explained. And it started off as very fascinating because they were exploring different fan theories, but they do daily content. I'm telling you, Matrix Explained has run out of shit to talk about with the fascinating concept and philosophical questions and queries presented by the Matrix and all the different plot holes and plot devices to explore and plot points and characters to explore over the years of content, from the comics to the Animatrix to the Matrix movies proper. They've absolutely run out of shit to say. They're just making up shit on the fly. And when Matrix 4 finally comes out, they're going to find themselves with a problem. It's the same thing that there's tons of Star Wars, dedicated YouTube Star Wars channels, that once they got over the gas of the exploding gas that was The Force Awakens or The Last Jedi or whatever, the last movie, they're stalling out. Because how long are they going to constantly keep on talking about Star Wars? You know what I mean? And let me tell you something. People can talk about all the hype about Dungeons and Dragons games all the time. If you don't have a chick on the podcast playing with you, I'm telling you, the numbers generated by old school D&D content is trash. You get more views talking about Mendoza or David Wilcock's Bedfellows. And where's David Wilcock been? What the fuck? And then then I'll see things like this. And I'm just going to present this without comment. Sup Guy says, you don't masturbate? Sound like a waste of time there, Dan. If I didn't think it would kill me in the algorithms, I would absolutely make "You don't masturbate? Sound like a waste of time there, Dan" the title of my next video. I liked Us, the movie made by the guy. He was one. I forget if it's Kay or Peele. Whoever made that movie, it was a good movie. I may have seen it, Steven, your tweet. We'll get back to it. Oh, here's ADDG. But CW, have you watched WandaVision on Weed? No. Spooky. WandaVision is made for stoner Redditors. Reddit is made for stoners. It's all made for stoners because they'll like anything. If you smoke enough, cannabinoid, freaking getting your arm chopped off will be a fucking trip. You know what I'm saying? It's a show about bowling, but the bowling balls are supercharged with powers. Jenny Quick says, hey, Chanter, I have questions and feedback to you. Okay. Well, I highlighted a lot of your comments before, but it seems like let's see, here it goes. Here's Jenny Quick. Well, I think this is his most natural mode. I love all of the modes, but balance is necessary. Sorry for crappy spelling. English isn't my first language. You're doing great. You're doing fine. English is not your first language. Oh, I'm waiting for the good metaphysical content. No, you're still waiting for the good metaphysical content. Then we know that English is your second language because I got nothing. Oh, live chat jumped on me. Hold on, let me see this. Spooky says, I made money on Bitcoin today. You only made money on Bitcoin today. You only made money on Bitcoin today if you had sold it today at a price higher than you bought it for. Let me repeat that. Any stock, any commodity, any item, if it goes up in value, but you don't divest, you have not made money on it. You've made possible money on it. Because in the future, if it goes down, you will have made no money on it. If you end up selling it at a price less than what you paid for, you will have lost money. So I don't know what you actually did. But I just want to make sure, because this is the sort of lazy thinking that happens with people, is that you see them all the time. I mean, because I know, listen, I came from a very affluent background. I don't lie and I don't bullshit about where I'm from. I don't act like I came from the wrong side of the tracks, because I didn't. I came from the right side of the tracks. It was terrible. Terrible things happened to me, but what are you going to do? But there are people who, they play stocks, they play the commodities, they play the markets, look at these hedge funds. You don't think the people that were holding these hedge funds thought that they had made money on GameStop until they lost money on GameStop? So be aware that an item's value is only realized at the point of transaction. If you hodl, it's a game people play, because I have friends that hodl Bitcoin and it goes up and they're like, oh, CW, you fucking moron. You should have bought. You better get your Bitcoin now. And then it'll go down. They'll go, buy the dip. It's going to go up. Trust me, it's going to go up. And it's the same story that people were doing with stocks for years. And sometimes stocks bottom out. There are people that lose wads and wads of money in the stock market, because the stock market essentially is gambling. Goes up, goes down. Do I sell now? It could go higher. If I sell now and it goes higher, I'll feel like an asshole. I can't sell now. So you hold on to it. It went down lower. Oh, no, I'm going to sell now. Oh, I sold it now. I sold it too early. Sold it too late. And it's only the success stories that get remembered. People do scratchers all the time. Scratcher, no win. Scratcher, no win. I won $5. Great. Well, maybe you spent $25 on scratchers this week. You made $5. I made $5. No, you didn't, because you spent $25 over the fucking last just week alone. It's when the person wins big. Oh shit! I won. You can make money when don't tell me you can't make money on scratchers. My cousin Eileen made $5,000 off a scratcher. Did she now? Fascinating. Yo, the house always wins. The house always wins. But then again, and Spooky, it's not a call to you to tell us if you actually sold or didn't sell. The lesson is, you made a statement and it triggered this sort of epiphany, the statement by me, and there's the value. Rogue Status also says Edison didn't invent shit. His underlings did. Fair enough. Jenny Quick says, I am finally the chosen one. After 3 years of following our beloved CW, I am mentioned. Made my night. There you go. Look, cheap wins. There you go. It'll happen a lot more. Don't start sounding like, friggin' listen, like I said. Oh, I'm going out of order. Pragmatic. People make their income dissecting and thriving off of MCU content on YouTube, just the way it is. I made a G today, but you made it in a sleazy way. Hey, that's just the way it is. Some things are never going to change. Zerto, yeah, Cyberpunk was a bit of a letdown. Yeah, it was supposed to be. I was supposed to be the game of the century. It was supposed to be the fucking Witcher 3 meets Skyrim in Blade Runner Town. I was stoked. If you go back in the day, like 2 weeks before Cyberpunk 2077 was released, people were talking about the PS5 and whether or not I was going to get a PS5. I said, fuck no. I already have a PS4. They're making Cyberpunk 2077 on the PS to work on the PS4. I don't need lens flare or whatever. I'll be fine on the PS4 because that's what I'm used to. And I said, based on my experiences with Skyrim, if you looked over here, I've got what have I been doing what game have I been playing the shit out of since the last week? because I've been trapped in 2011 because I got sick and tired of 2001 and the video game sucked back then. They didn't. There's a lot of PS2 stuff anyway, bottom line is I've been playing Fallout New Vegas on a PS3 and it rocks. Based on the fact that I've literally been playing Fallout New Vegas, to say nothing of the number of playthroughs I've done and save files I have for friggin' the original Fallout 3, whatever. The amount of times I've gone from 0 to 50 or whatever on Borderlands on every roll. I said Cyberpunk 2077 is coming out on the PS4. I anticipate playing. I literally said I anticipate playing that for the next 10 years. Man, oh man. Was I wrong? Spooky. You don't masturbate? Sound like a waste of time there, Dan. Let's make that a thing. Oh, speaking of spooky, and I know there's been a lot of, because she's defending WandaVision for some ungodly reason, probably like shiny lights or whatever. Teasing. Excellent video on Spooky's channel today talking about Mendoza's comic book. And I'll leave it there. Remember when Rogue Status says, unless you're a monk seeking enlightenment, no reason not to rub one out. Well, listen, here's the thing. Remember when no FAP was a thing? See, that's what I'm talking about, the nostalgia loops, and where it's going to get really twisted is that not only is there no new culture, and it's just this endless recycling of memes, thoughts, and ideas of the past over and over again. It's the cultural things like arise and fall so fast that, like, how can we be back? Like, so how will we be nostalgic for when no FAP was a thing? Because we'll remember it. And we'll be able to go back sort of to a period of time. We'll be able to do a search and see, okay, it was kind of 2018 was when I remember when no FAP, the concept was, it kind of coalesced around. It was like, it had like connections briefly for a while with like that diverse, like intellectual dark web. It was like, I'm going to read Jordan Peterson's 12 Rules for Life, and I'm not going to masturbate ever again, and I'm going to master my serotonin levels, and I'm going to focus that energy, that useless energy I used to waste on like girls, into creating like a new ICO. Remember, like that whole, there was like a whole thing. No FAP. Oh, there you go. Spooky says, I did divest some and I made money on what I sold. Congratulations. Spooky, I want you to be a billionaire. Honestly, I'm rooting for you. I hope all the crypto coin people turn into billionaires, because some of you are fans, and if you're a billionaire, I assume you would be able to give me $1 million, right? If you've got $1 billion, Spooky, don't be a cunt about it. Give me a fucking million. You got it. You know what I mean? I was gonna give you $1 million, and then you told me not to be a cunt about it. So there goes that. Someone will give me money. Zerdos. After a decade plus, long bull market people have forgotten what realized and unrealized gains are. Continuing, and no one is talking about GameStop again and the possible disruptions it might bring to the global financial system because of short squeeze, a gamma squeeze, a Vega something, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's when internet culture intersects with pre-existing systems and disruption occurs. Be careful, because disruption can have many powerful Frisian-like effects and make a whole bunch of people that didn't make money previously money. Oh, shoot. Actually, oh, fuck. Hold on. Folks, we got to go. Hold on. Then we get to the end here. Here we go. You could have $1 million for excellent use of the word cunt. Fantastic. OnlyFans. There you go. Here we go. And then here's Spooky with, I think this is the link to their channel. There you go. Genocide is here, says I. Okay, folks, I gotta go. I didn't realize how late it was. I've gone late. I love you. I got started late. I love you. I love you. I love you. If no one told they loved you today, somebody just did that. Somebody CW chanter, and we'll take it from there. I love you guys. You mean the world to me. I'm glad that WandaVision sucks, so it gives me an excuse to talk to you guys. You're all wonderful, beautiful people. You're amazing.